Subscribe to my channel for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Liam Thorne had always believed in the sanctity of vows. As a veteran investigative journalist known for his relentless pursuit of truth, he'd spent 2 decades exposing corruption and injustice. He'd built his reputation on facts, evidence, and an unwavering moral compass. What he hadn't expected was that his most challenging expose would be uncovering the truth about his own marriage. The suburban home in Willow Creek had been their sanctuary when they'd bought it 10 years ago. Eleanor had loved the spacious kitchen and the sprawling backyard, perfect for their future children. Now, as Liam sat in his home office, surrounded by stacks of research and a blinking cursor on his screen, those same walls felt like a fortress he was trying to breach. Eleanor Vance, now Eleanor Thorne, had once been the beacon of his world, a seemingly devoted art therapist with a captivating smile and eyes that promised forever. She'd captivated him at a gallery opening in 2015. They'd married within a year, and for the first few years, Liam truly believed he'd found his soulmate. Their daughter Clara had arrived 3 years into the marriage. At 6 years old now, she was the absolute center of Liam's universe. Clara had inherited her mother's gentle demeanor and her father's curious mind. The first tremor in Liam's perfect life had appeared 8 months ago, during a late-night work session. He'd stumbled upon an old, unopened email from an anonymous source sent years prior, hinting at financial irregularities involving Eleanor's family foundation. He'd dismissed it then, trusting his wife implicitly, but a seed of unease had been planted. The unease grew into suspicion when he noticed small, uncharacteristic changes: hushed phone calls, late nights at charity events, and an increased secrecy around her family's finances. Marcus Thorne, Liam's estranged older brother, was a shrewd corporate lawyer with a dubious reputation for shady dealings. They'd been at odds since a bitter inheritance dispute years ago. Yet when Liam subtly probed about high-profile family foundations, Marcus, surprisingly, offered a cryptic warning. Some secrets are buried so deep, Liam, you might not want to dig them up, especially when they're in your own backyard. Liam's investigation had been slow, cautious, and agonizingly personal. He started with public records, cross-referencing dates and names related to Eleanor's family. He found inconsistencies, then outright discrepancies in their financial statements, hidden bank accounts, shell corporations, and unusually large and untraceable donations to the Vance Family Charitable Trust. But it was a decrypted hard drive hidden inside an old antique music box Eleanor believed was a sentimental keepsake from her grandmother that revealed the most devastating truth. They weren't just engaged in financial misconduct, they were laundering money for a powerful, shadowy syndicate, and Eleanor was a key player. The Thorne name will protect us. Liam is too obsessed with justice to ever suspect his own wife, read one chilling message from Eleanor to an unknown contact. Once he's discredited, the foundation can become the perfect front for expanding operations. Another message from her to her father, Gregory Vance, a seemingly philanthropic real estate magnate. Clara is a non-issue. Once the divorce is finalized and Liam is ruined, she'll be easily swayed. His obsession with his work will be her excuse. Liam had read those messages until the words blurred, the full weight of their betrayal settling in like a suffocating shroud. They weren't just ending their marriage, they were orchestrating his complete professional and personal destruction. Eleanor planned to take his daughter, his reputation, and use his good name as a shield for their criminal enterprise. But they had underestimated the man they were targeting. Liam spent the next 5 months preparing. He meticulously documented every transaction, every encrypted message, every clandestine meeting. He established secure channels with trusted former colleagues in law enforcement and the press, creating a bulletproof case. He also quietly moved personal assets into a separate, untraceable trust for Clara's future. The Vance family had money, influence, and an impenetrable facade of respectability. Gregory Vance, Eleanor's father, was a titan of industry, celebrated for his charitable works. His mother, Caroline Vance, chaired numerous philanthropic boards. They had always treated Liam with a subtle disdain, viewing him as a sensationalist journalist beneath their social standing. What they didn't know was that Liam had grown up in the rougher parts of the city, learning early that appearances were often the most deceptive camouflage for rot underneath. The breakthrough came when Liam was investigating an old, defunct construction company listed as a major donor to the Vance Foundation. Buried in archived corporate filings, he found a long-forgotten lawsuit from 15 years ago. A wrongful death suit involving a construction accident that had killed 5 undocumented workers. The company had folded, the case dismissed, and the victims' families left with nothing. The twist? The company's sole shareholder at the time was a shell entity linked directly to Gregory Vance. The judge who dismissed the case? A close associate of the Vance family, who later received a substantial donation to his re-election campaign from the Vance Family Charitable Trust. Liam had his leverage. The morning Eleanor's lawyers served him at his office was the day he'd been preparing for. Brenda Jenkins was everything Liam expected from Eleanor's choice of attorney. Sharp suit, a smirk that bordered on condescending, and the kind of aggressive confidence that came from representing the city's elite. Eleanor seeking full custody and significant spousal support, Jenkins announced, sliding the divorce papers across Liam's desk. And given your sensationalist reputation, the court is likely to grant it. She claims you're an unstable influence. Liam looked up from the papers, his face a mask of calm. Around them, his newsroom buzzed with a controlled chaos of breaking stories. Awards and commendations for his investigative work lined the walls. Photos with whistleblowers and grateful victims created an impression of integrity and unwavering dedication to truth. Liam smiled, a slow, deliberate movement, and reached into his desk drawer. He pulled out a thick manila envelope sealed with a wax impression of a phoenix symbol. "Deliver this to your client," Liam said, his voice quiet but firm. Jenkins' smugness faltered slightly as she took the heavy envelope. "What is this?" "My counterproposal," Liam replied. That evening, Liam's phone exploded with calls. The first was from Eleanor, her voice shrill with a mixture of confusion and burgeoning panic. "What is this, Liam? What are you trying to do?" He let it go to voicemail. The second call was from Gregory Vance, his usual booming confidence replaced by a strained, choked rage. "You think you can threaten us? This is defamation. We'll sue you into oblivion." Liam deleted that message without listening to it completely. The third call came at 10:30 p.m. Carolyn Vance's voice was icy with fury, but underneath, Liam could hear something he'd never heard from her before. Raw, primal fear. "How could you know about the Marston case? It was sealed." She shrieked. Liam answered this call. "Good evening, Caroline," Liam said, his voice steady. "I was wondering when you'd call." "You bastard, what do you want?" "Justice," Liam said, simply. The envelope had contained copies of sealed court documents, forensic accounting reports, and detailed digital trails of communications. Evidence of a vast money laundering scheme, a cover-up of industrial negligence resulting in multiple deaths, and a pervasive pattern of corruption that implicated the Vance Family Charitable Trust and its prestigious founders. Evidence that could not only destroy their reputation, but send them to federal prison. "You can't prove anything," Caroline said, but her voice lacked conviction. "I can prove everything. Bank records showing illicit transfers from shell companies into the charitable foundation. Witness testimonies from former employees of the defunct construction firm. Photos of you and Gregory celebrating with the judge who dismissed the wrongful death suit days after the ruling, and of course Eleanor's own communications detailing her role." The line was silent for a long, suffocating moment. "What do you want?" Caroline asked finally, her voice barely a whisper. "Justice," Liam said, "something your family knows very little about." Eleanor withdraws the divorce papers. The Vance Family Charitable Trust is dissolved, with all legitimate assets donated to a fund for the victims of the Marston and families and other unacknowledged victims of your greed. Eleanor gives me full custody of Clara and disappears from her life. And you, Gregory and Eleanor, publicly confess your involvement and accept legal consequences. This information then becomes a front-page story in every major newspaper I can influence." "That's impossible. Eleanor will never agree to." "Eleanor will agree," Liam interrupted, his voice gaining a chilling edge, "because the alternative is her mother and father in federal prison, their entire business empire crumbling under federal investigation, and their names forever synonymous with criminal enterprise. Because the alternative is the Marston families finally getting justice and taking everything the Vance family stole from them.
and me exposing every single dirty secret your family has ever buried." "You're destroying an innocent family," Caroline cried. Liam's laugh was cold and devoid of humor. "Innocent? Your daughter planned to steal my child and use my reputation as a shield for her criminal enterprise. Your family built its fortune on the graves of those you exploited and murdered through corruption. There's nothing innocent about any of you." Over the next week, Liam watched his carefully constructed plan unfold. Eleanor tried to fight it at first, convinced her family's influence could protect her. She threatened to release damaging, fabricated stories about Liam to the tabloids. But Liam's network preemptively discredited her sources, showcasing his untarnished reputation as a journalist. The pressure mounted when articles began appearing in obscure but reputable online journals, subtly linking the Vance family to old forgotten controversies. Anonymous tips led reporters to ask uncomfortable questions about the Vance family charitable trust's opaque financials and past legal.
Eleanor's resolve cracked when federal investigators showed up at her father's corporate offices, armed with search warrants and subpoenas specifically mentioning the Marston case. Gregory Vance's confidence shattered when he realized that fighting Liam meant fighting a journalist who had turned investigation into an art form, who had evidence of every dirty deal, every corner cut, every law bent in the pursuit of profit. The final confrontation took place in Brenda Jenkins' hushed, opulent conference room. Jenkins looked haggard, like a woman who'd realized she'd been outplayed by a superior opponent. Eleanor sat rigid in her chair, her usual composure fractured, her face pale. Gregory and Caroline Vance hadn't come at all. Their lawyers had advised them to distance themselves from Eleanor's legal issues, claiming she acted independently. "You've won," Eleanor said quietly, her voice flat. "We'll sign whatever you want." Liam studied his wife's face, looking for any trace of the woman he'd once loved. All he saw was cold calculation and bitter defeat. "I want to hear you say it." "Say what?" "That you never loved me, that our entire marriage was a lie, that you planned to steal my daughter and destroy my life." Eleanor's mask slipped, revealing something ugly underneath, a flash of venomous resentment. "You were never good enough for me, Liam. My parents knew it from the beginning. You're just a glorified muckraker, a journalist with delusions of moral superiority. You were a means to an end." "And yet, this glorified muckraker just dismantled your entire family's empire," Liam retorted, his voice cutting. "The divorce papers are irrelevant now. You're signing a new agreement, one that gives me everything." The documents Liam presented were comprehensive. Eleanor would retain only her personal possessions and a small, supervised allowance, enough to survive, but not enough to rebuild the life of opulence she'd planned. The Vance family charitable trust would be dissolved, its assets meticulously redirected to victim compensation funds. Most importantly, Eleanor would sign all parental rights to Clara and agree to supervised visitation only, contingent on psychological evaluation and a complete cessation of any contact with her parents or their criminal associates. "Clara will know the truth someday," Eleanor said, signing each page with mechanical precision, her hand trembling slightly. "Clara will know that her mother abandoned her, that she chose greed and deception over her family. That's the only truth that matters." When the papers were signed, Liam stood and gathered his copies. "There's one more thing you should know." Eleanor looked up, confused, a flicker of something new, fear in her eyes. "Your father isn't facing a full federal investigation because I forced him to. He's facing it because 3 days ago his own lawyer, Brenda, fearing disbarment and accessory charges, handed over an entire cache of documents that definitively linked him to the Marston deaths and the money laundering. She cut a deal for immunity." The color drained from Eleanor's face. "That's impossible. Brenda is family." Liam placed a single printout on the table. It was an official statement from the district attorney's office announcing an indictment against Gregory Vance.
Attached was a photo of Brenda Jenkins, looking grim but composed, walking out of the DA's office. This is Brenda's signed affidavit detailing every conversation, every instruction, every illicit transfer she facilitated for your father. She left you and your family to face the consequences alone, just like you planned to leave me. As Liam walked toward the door, Eleanor's composure finally broke. Completely. "You can't take my daughter, she's mine." Liam turned back, his expression carved from stone. "You gave that right up when you decided to use her as a pawn in your criminal games. Clara deserves better than a mother who would sacrifice her innocence for profit. She'll hate you for this someday, maybe, but she'll never doubt that I fought for her."
3 months later, Liam sat in his home office, watching Clara play in the backyard through the window. She was meticulously tending to a small rose bush, a gift from him. She'd adapted to her new reality with the resilience of youth, understanding only that her father was there for her and her mother was not. Gregory and Caroline Vance were awaiting trial, facing multiple federal charges. Their once grand empire was in receivership, their assets frozen pending the outcome of civil suits filed by the now empowered Marston families and other victims. Eleanor Vance had disappeared into obscurity, last seen working under an assumed name as a low-level assistant in a struggling art gallery in a different state, her face gaunt, her spirit broken. The phone on Liam's desk rang, breaking his reverie. The caller ID showed a number he recognized, a prominent, well-respected law firm, another potential client seeking his particular brand of truth. "Thorne Investigations?" he answered. "Mr. Thorne, my name is Sarah Chen. I believe my husband is embezzling from his own company, and I fear he may be framing me." Liam leaned back in his chair, his pen poised over a fresh notepad. "Tell me everything, Mrs. Chen, and please start from the beginning." Outside, Clara's cheerful humming echoed through the warm afternoon air, a reminder of everything he'd fought to protect. In this business, there was always another case, another betrayal that needed to learn that actions had consequences. Liam Thorne had learned that lesson on the streets, refined it in newsrooms, and perfected it in his marriage. He'd built his life on a simple principle. Those who wield deception and harm against the innocent are destined to face the uncompromising truth. He'd never made that mistake, and he never would. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you